Before I started over though, I just made sure I made a character sketch, like a finer character sketch, so that right here, you see, I could start painting and have like a solid base to do like flat colors, lighting, and color variations. So this is what I wanted to show you now. Actually, basically what I did, I merged everything, turned it into a black and white thing, brightened it like a lot, and then blurred it. So filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And blurring helps you, not be too distracted by these little very loose details, right? Without it, your stroke, your sketch would be tempted to follow too closely, things that don't need to be followed. They were just there to indicate, loose information, but you don't want to follow that too closely. So blurring is great for that. And that's it. Now let me show you my sketch and the sort of reasoning that I used. I used a soft brush, again, just the same brush that I used for the early research. Black color and a soft brush as an eraser as well. And basically what I did, I made sure that I created a hierarchy of line size, length, I guess, like a hierarchy of detail, of detail busyness, right, that guides the eye towards the face. So basically what I wanted to do is to have the eye kind of shoot up the skirt and the dress, sorry, and arrest itself on the jacket, and where I would plan a lot of like little details there, and then from there like shoot up again towards the face. But I don't want the eye to rest too long, on the legs and on the dress itself. I just I want people to sort of accelerate their gaze like up the character, and then sort of bounce around with all these details, right? So all these details there, sorry, let me find the right brush. All these little details there, like the hair, the fringes on the side, the wrinkles on the, around the armpits. These are all here to retain the eye, to sort of keep the eye busy and stay there longer, Like the busier an area is, the longer the eye will stay there. But of course, you don't want everything to be busy in detail, right? You want only one area to be detailed. Hopefully, it's usually the head, right, for a character, and you want the rest of your design to just sort of help the eye appreciate that area. And this contrast of detail shows confidence on your part, and it shows also that you know what you're doing, of course, because it's kind of risky, right, to not do a lot of details. It's like, well, people are going to be bored, right? But it's kind of a leap forward. It's kind of a leap of faith that you're doing with your own design. It's like, okay, I'm going to purposefully leave this area more empty, just so that I focus my effort, which is also a time saver, on one smaller area, and also because that area is actually interesting, and this is where your like all that costume research and your thumbnailing and this sort of processing of information, progressively, and your experience also will come into play and make you design better and better stuff. And there's this sort of I think it's a sort of tendency that I noticed in myself, and I think in others as well, is that at first we make everything kind of like medium shapes, right? Out of just not quite knowing exactly what we're doing, right? We know it's not great, but we don't know why. And I think that's something that Giacomo in your feedback I suggested, because your original composition has a lot of like middle squarish shapes, and you sort of divided everything into, you know, bite-size, you know, design elements that are all kind of mid-size, right? And when you do that, you see everything becomes very weirdly boring, you know. It's like, oh, okay, yep, here another transition, here's, okay, moving on, different shape. And if you do that, your character is gonna, like, the eye is gonna just bounce around like a mosaic, you know. It's just gonna bounce around and not seize the overall point of your character, right? But if you try your best to focus the gaze of the viewer in one area and actually confirm that that choice with other kind of arrow elements, you know, the viewer, you will develop a sort of complicity with the viewer, and the viewer there will be a nice, like, oh, okay, I see what's going on here. I know I'm supposed to look here. That's great, you know. Like, it feels validating as a viewer, kind of, I feel. But if you subdivide everything, it's like a game of, you know, where is Waldo? You know, what's the important thing here? Like, if everything is the same size, nothing special, nothing's, you know, like, really, is the upper thigh supposed to be exactly as interesting as this part here, as this part here or this part here? Like, no, right? And of course, the face is the number one. So this is, as you go along, you know, as you progress with not only the challenge piece that we have going on, but your personal work in general. Like, yeah, I'm sure you'll like, try to follow this very simple logic. Try to be more daring. You know, it's a game thing, right? This kind of a secret rule of it. But once you know it, you know, it's really fun to see your own art progress. It's really awesome. So okay, now, given this, now that you know the basic principle, right? Now that you know this sort of hidden rule, let me sort of walk you through the last steps of my my sketch. So, okay, let me zoom in. You know what? I should probably double the sketch, right? I just duplicated the sketch layer just so it's more visible. Now let me show you. Okay, that's my second step. First step was this, just basic lines, right? Basic line design, line language, like lengths, right? Directing the eye. And now my second step was to subdivide these lines. And basically what I did here, I added a lot of, like, abstract trinkets, you know. It's just like little medals or something, you know, accessories, just to retain and direct the eye, you know, in that direction. That's all, really. But you see, I just kept in mind this back rule, like this little hidden rule, this principle. I just never let it away from my attention. I was like, okay, let's direct even more, you know, the eye towards that direction. Let's make the wrinkles in the armpit kind of point towards the face, right? Let's make this weird, like, I don't know what it is, like a sort of shell or just it doesn't even matter, right? Just an accessory. Let's just make it that point towards the face. Let's make the strap on the shoulder point toward the face. Let's make, like, smaller details within the strap also point towards the face. And also I did this sort of bandolier here that would, you know, logically, I guess, connect to the quiver, like support the quiver. So I made this bandolier here. But what I had in mind, like, I thought, okay, I want this to be as light as this, because I don't want the eye to be stopped midway on its trip towards the face, right? I don't want the eye to sort of bump here, be distracted by this bandolier, and then have to resume its trip. Especially because it would sort of cut the character into, like, two equal halves, you know, kind of, right? So even though I added something here, I made sure it's very light, like, you know, it's like a note to self kind of thing, right? Make sure it's not too bright, too dark, not too contrasted. And whatever the color, I imagine like a light color for this dress, it's gonna be a very similar color for the bandolier. In the end, like in the final image, I didn't keep it. You see, well, I keep it here because it's still the sketch that I just colorized. But in the final piece, I removed it because I was like, it's kind of useless. Like it does, we can understand maybe it's a fantasy armor. The quiver might just be like resting behind on something we don't see yet, right? So like not every choice, just because it's your sketch, your final sketch, before rendering, doesn't mean like you have to commit and get married to these solutions. It's like stay flexible, of course. But yeah, like the purpose was like that.